Dive Podcast.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is February 2026, and I have to be honest with you. I feel like we have had this conversation about 5 times in the last 6 months. The landscape of AI video generation, it just shifts so fast that by the time we finish this, there's probably going to be, a new model out.
It does feel a bit like running on a treadmill that's just slowly speeding up.
Exactly. Just when we got our heads around Sora 2 or VO 3.1, a new player enters the arena. And honestly, looking at the specs on this one, it makes everything from late 2025 look a little quaint.
Quaint is a very polite way of putting it.
Yeah.
We are talking, of course, about Seedance 2.0.
Seedance 2.0, the name is just splashing across every tech blog right now. It's the latest release from ByteDance, the juggernaut, behind TikTok and CapCut. Now, usually it'd say, okay, another video generator, moving on. But we have this stack of technical reports, reviews, news analyses here that suggest something else entirely is going on. The headline claim isn't just better video. They're calling this thing a director.
And that distinction, changing the noun from generator to director, is actually the crucial part of today's deep dive.
Right, because up until now, using AI to make video was basically a slot machine. You pull the lever, you type cat on a skateboard, and you just hope for a jackpot. Maybe you get a usable clip, maybe you get a 6-legged cat melting into the pavement.
Precisely. The mission of this deep dive is to figure out if Seedance 2.0 actually earns that title. Does it give you control? Or is it just a slot machine with much, much better graphics? Because if it's a director, that fundamentally changes the relationship between the user and the output.
So let's unpack this. I've seen the demos, and yeah, sure, they look expensive. They look great. But we need to look under the hood. What is physically different about this engine compared to what we were using last year?
To understand the leap, you have to look at the architecture. Most people are used to text to video. You give it words, it gives you pixels. Seedance 2.0 is still a diffusion model at its core. It learns by removing noise from static. But the headline feature is that it's a quad-modal system.
Quad-modal. Okay, so obviously that means 4 modes. But in practical terms, for the person sitting at the keyboard, what does that actually mean?
It means the model accepts 4 distinct types of input at the same time to build a single scene. It's not just looking at your text prompt anymore.
Okay.
You can feed it text, obviously. But you can also upload images. Up to 9 reference images at once.
9 images. Wait, why would I need 9? That feels like overkill. Usually these models get confused if you give them 2 pictures, let alone 9.
That's where the director logic comes in. Think about how a real film is made. You don't just have a script. You have a character sheet, a costume reference, a lighting reference, a photo from a location scout.
Oh, I see.
By allowing 9 images, Seedance is letting you build a sort of style consistency map. You're telling the AI, here's the actor's face from the front, here's the side profile, here's the costume texture, and here's the lighting mood.
So it's not just averaging them out into a blurry mess. It understands that one image is for structure.
Exactly. One is for structure, another is for style. Theoretically, yes.
Wow.
It uses a much more complex conditioning system to separate those assets. And it doesn't stop at images. You can upload up to 3 video clips.
Okay.
And up to 3 audio files.
So instead of me describing a camera move, I can upload a video clip that has the camera move I want and just say, do this, but with my character.
Exactly. It synthesizes the motion data for the video, the visual data from the images, and the semantic instructions from your text. It solves the biggest problem with the previous generation of these tools, randomness. When you provide that much reference material, the model isn't just hallucinating the composition from scratch, it's extracting the visual effects and the camera work from the assets you gave it. It's conducting the scene based on your materials.
Okay, that sounds less like gambling and more like working. But let's talk about the storytelling aspect, because having a pretty character is one thing, making them act is another. One of the things that really jumped out at me in the technical report was this narrative planner.
This is a fascinating development in what we call temporal consistency. Usually, if you give an AI a long, complex prompt, it just gets confused. It tries to do everything at once, or forgets the beginning by the time it gets to the end.
Right.
Seedance 2.0 uses a multi-shot storyboard feature. It takes your prompt and automatically breaks it down into individual shots before it generates a single pixel.
There was this specific example in the source material that I just loved. It was an Avengers battle scene. A user typed in a prompt about heroes fighting, but then, and this is the twist, Thanos just says sorry and stops the fight.
A bizarre scenario, granted, but a perfect stress test for the AI.
Right. And what blew my mind wasn't the image quality, it was the editing. The report says the AI generated a wide shot first, to establish the battle, then it did a zoom in on the character, then a tilt, and finally a hard cut.
That hard cut is the most significant part of that sentence.
Right.
Because generative AI hates hard cuts. Yeah, it loves to morph things. It wants to dream one image into the next, like a fever dream. For the model to decide, the visual information ends here, and a completely new angle begins here. That implies it understands the language of cinema. It's editing, not just dreaming.
It's applying professional camera logic. It knew that to land the joke of Thanos saying sorry, you needed a close-up and you needed a cut to break the tension.
Exactly. It's the director logic kicking in. It's making creative decisions about pacing and framing that the user didn't explicitly ask for, but that the story required.
That is, well, it's impressive, but it's also a little unnerving. Let's look at another weak point of the last generation. Physics. We have all seen those videos where someone walks through a door or a coffee cup just floats away.
Physics has always been the Achilles heel. These models are trained on 2D images. They don't inherently understand 3D mass or gravity. They know what a falling cup looks like, but not how it accelerates. Seedance 2.0 seems to be integrating a physics simulation layer, or at least a much deeper understanding of object permanence.
There were two examples in the reviews. One was the skating couple.
Yes. In that demo, two figure skaters perform a jump and a rotation. In older models, you'd see limbs disappearing, or the landing would look floaty, like they were on the moon. But here, the report noted that the timing of the jump, the rotation, it was physically accurate. They landed when gravity said they should land.
But the other example, honestly, it sounds so boring on paper, but when you describe the complexity, it's wild. The laundry
example is actually the better test.
It's just someone shaking out clothes to hang on a line. Why is that a benchmark?
Think about the physics involved. You have the weight of wet cloth. You have air resistance, the snap of the fabric. You have the way light hits the ripples, which changes every millisecond. And you have the interaction with the human hands.
And the source material highlights that the movement of the fabric didn't look like liquid, which is the usual AI failure mode. It looked like cloth.
It suggests the model isn't just predicting the next frame based on color. It's predicting the next frame based on simulated momentum. That is a massive leap in computation.
Okay, so visually it's tight. But movies aren't just video, they're sound. And usually AI video is silent, right? You generate the clip, then you go find a sound effect library, or you use a separate AI to generate audio and pray it syncs up.
Or you get that weird drift where the mouth moves but the words don't match. This is where Seedance 2.0 introduces what they're calling an audio-video coupled architecture.
That sounds like marketing jargon. Translate that for me.
It means simultaneous generation. The model isn't generating a video and then looking at it to guess what it sounds like. It is generating the pixels and the sound waves in the exact same process. It likely treats the audio and the video as part of the same data stream.
There is a vivid example of this, the mirror scene. It sounded genuinely unsettling.
It's a very striking example of this coupling. The scene involves a woman standing in front of a mirror. She's looking at herself, quite calm, and then she starts screaming and crying.
And the report says the audio shifted in real time. The background music went from sad to horror exactly as her expression changed.
That's the key. The audio wasn't a track pasted on top. The AI understood the emotional shift in the data from introspection to breakdown and modulated the music and the sound effects to match that intensity, frame by frame. The scream, the music, the ambient noise, it all aligned without clashing because they were born from the same calculation.
That is incredible synergy. But speaking of audio, we have to talk about the voice capabilities. Because this isn't just background music, it can do dialogue.
Correct. It supports voice cloning and lip syncing. You can upload up to 3 voice files to train it on a specific timbre and cadence.
Now, here is where I get skeptical. The example they gave was the promo video. Someone took an existing promotional video, a real video, and used Seedance to swap out the actor.
Right. They used a reference image to replace the original actor with a Western model. But here's the kicker. They also changed the language to English.
So you have a new face and a new language on an old video file. Usually this looks like a bad dub in a kung fu movie.
According to the analysis, it didn't. The AI kept the reflection in the actor's glasses from the original video. It matched the lip syncing perfectly to the new English dialogue. It maintained the lighting, the environment, even the subtle shadows, while completely changing the identity and the audio.
Okay, hold on. You're saying it swapped the face, changed the language, kept the lighting, and kept the reflections in the glasses. I have to play devil's advocate here. That sounds like a press release, not a tech report. Did it actually look human, or did it have that glossy AI sheen we all know.
The report says it was dangerously close to seamless. The sheen is diminishing. And the fact that it preserved the reflections suggests it understands the geometry of the scene, not just the pixels of the face. But, and there is always a but, it is not magic.
Good, because I was starting to get worried. Where does it break? I want to know about the glitches.
It breaks where reality gets messy. There's a phenomenon noted in the reviews called the Cyberpunk Cafe issue.
Sounds like a cool band name, but I assume it's a rendering error.
A massive one. A user tried to generate a shot looking through a cafe window. So you have the glass, the reflection on the glass, and the cyberpunk city interior behind it. The model struggled to separate those layers.
So the reflection moves with the background.
Exactly. It creates this unnatural drift where the glass reflection seems glued to the furniture inside. It destroys the illusion of depth immediately. It shows that the AI doesn't fully understand the glass is a separate transparent surface. It just knows what a reflection looks like.
That makes sense. It's confusing textures with objects. What about crowds? That's always a nightmare for AI.
It still is. There was a test involving a K-pop concert scene. When you have that many people moving at once, the model hits the uncanny valley hard. The band members were moving weirdly, but the real issue was the audio. In a chaotic acoustic environment like a stadium, that audio-video coupling we praised earlier falls apart. The background music didn't quite match the vocals. It seems the model can handle a solo scream in a quiet room, but a stadium anthem confuses it.
And I have to mention the funny one, the text context error. The Friends crossover.
Oh yes, this one is pure logic failure.
A user asked for a crossover between Friends and Game of Thrones, which, first of all, bold choice. But what did the AI do?
It inserted a character from How I Met Your Mother.
Which is hilarious. It's like the AI said, sitcom with friends in a New York setting. Close enough.
It highlights that while the visual rendering is high-end, the semantic understanding, the pop culture logic, can still get its wires crossed. It's hallucinating concepts, not just pixels. It associates the vibe of the show correctly, but gets the specific entities wrong.
And on a more practical level, the reports mention some quality issues with small details, right?
Yes. Pixelation on background billboards is common. Small text is often unreadable gibberish. And there are technical barriers. If you're using the free version or the lower tier, there are watermarks. And often, even the high-res output needs to be run through a separate upscaling tool to be truly broadcast quality. It's not always one click to cinema.
Plus, I read that if you give it conflicting instructions like 9 reference images that look totally different, it just gets muddy.
Right, it tries to average them out.
Yeah.
If you feed it a photo of a dark, gritty noir detective in a bright, colorful cartoon, the output will likely be a blurry mess. It needs clear direction.
So it's a director, but it needs a good producer to give it the right assets.
That is a very good way to put it. Garbage in, garbage out still applies.
All right, let's zoom out. We have this powerful tool. It can direct, it can do sound, it can swap faces. But here is where it gets really interesting, and honestly, a little scary. The reaction to this hasn't just been, oh, cool tech. It's been visceral.
Absolutely. The reports from TechCrunch and others around mid-February describe a very tense atmosphere in the entertainment industry. This isn't just about a new tool for YouTubers. This is hitting Hollywood.
There was a quote from a filmmaker that really hit me. They said, "This is the end for us." That is not a small statement. It sounds dramatic, but is it justified?
It might be. The fear isn't just about the quality of the video. It's about the replaceability of the human element. We talked about that promo video example, swapping an actor for a digital model. If you were a background actor or even a commercial actor, that capability is an existential threat. Why fly an actor to a location when you can just prompt them into existence?
And it's not just future jobs, it's about current intellectual property. Disney is involved, right?
Disney's always involved when IP is at stake. The reports state that the model has been generating copyrighted characters, Spider-Man, Darth Vader, Grogu, without permission.
So people are just typing Spider-Man eating a burger and getting a movie quality clip.
Essentially. And because the quality is so high, it dilutes the brand. But it gets even stickier with real people. There is the Keanu issue that surfaced last week.
Oh, right. The Neon City action sequence. I saw the screenshots.
A user generated a generic action hero in a Neon City sequence. They didn't ask for a specific actor. But the output character looked almost exactly like Keanu Reeves.
Was that the user asking for him?
Yes. And that is the danger zone. It implies that the model's training data for Action Hero is so heavily weighted with Keanu Reeves movies that it defaults to his face. This raises massive questions about digital likeness and deepfakes. If the AI creates a Keanu Reeves lookalike by default, does Keanu get paid? Can he sue? It wasn't an intentional deepfake, it was a statistical one.
That is a legal nightmare. It's one thing if I steal your face, it's another thing if the machine thinks your face is the definition of a concept.
Exactly. And the Motion Picture Association, the MPA, isn't staying quiet. They have demanded ByteDance stop. They are framing this as a direct clash between tech innovation and intellectual property rights. It's a legal standoff that could define the next decade of copyright law.
It feels like we are at a tipping point. The tech is moving faster than the laws can literally be written.
That's usually the case. But the speed here is unprecedented. The gap between impossible and available on your phone was about 6 months.
So, for the listeners who are hearing this and thinking, I want to try this, I want to see if I can make my own Avengers movie, where do they actually find it?
Well, right now, accessibility is a bit split. It's integrated into Gmeng, which is the Chinese version of the app. For the international market, you're looking at platforms like ChatCut or Dramina. But access is mostly gated via waitlists.
And it's not free, is it?
Not really. The pricing mentioned in China is around 69 yuan for a subscription. That's roughly $10 US, give or take. That signals that ByteDance views this as a pro tool. It's priced for creators and professionals, not just for someone bored on a lunch break who wants to make a meme.
It's the difference between a toy and a tool set.
Exactly. They are positioning this as software for the next generation of filmmakers.
So let's wrap this up. We have moved from simple text to video generators to a quad-modal director that can handle physics, sync audio, plan a storyboard, and edit scenes. It's incredible technology, it has some glaring bugs with logic and layers, and it is legally explosive.
It is a massive leap. Seedance 2.0 represents the moment where the barrier to entry for high production value collapses. You don't need a camera crew, a lighting rig, or a sound engineer. You don't even need actors. You need a prompt, some reference JPEGs, and a sense of timing.
Which is exciting for the kid in their bedroom with a great idea, but maybe terrifying for the industry that relies on those barriers.
And that leads to the big question for me. If we lower the barrier to creating a film to just typing a prompt, we are undoubtedly going to get a billion new directors. We will see an explosion of content like we've never seen before. But my question to you and to the listener is this. When everyone can generate their own personalized, perfect movie, do we lose the shared reality of cinema?
That is a heavy thought.
Think about it. If I can just generate the Star Wars movie I want to see starring my friends, why would I watch yours? Do we lose that communal experience of sitting in a dark room and watching the same story together? Or does cinema become a solitary, personalized loop?
Are we gaining a billion artists or just creating a billion isolated audiences? That is a question we are going to have to answer sooner rather than later. Thanks for listening to this deep dive into Seedance 2.0. We will see you or generate you next time.